Welcome back, baseball fans, to a special edition of the Strat-O-Matic Excel League. This is about scheduling and what to expect coming up in the off season as the summer 2025 season is wrapped. So I'm going to take you through a schedule of what's coming up on the channel and what we'll be doing through the fall and winter and early spring. The upcoming schedule for the fall 2025 and summer 2026 leagues. So next week we'll begin the draft, November 4th through 8th. The draft results for the 1981-84 Fall League. First round draft results. The draft was already conducted. Games have already started to be played. So we have a backlog to fill in. And you'll be seeing draft results for the Fall League, which is, of course, 8 years into the future of where the Summer League presently is. There's a gap, and the Fall League has a different set of rules altogether, and big rule changes that I'm going to be coming up with at the end of this. The week after that, we're going to begin our off-season look at the Summer League, where the White Sox and Dodgers just played in the World Series. The Tuesday topic, starting November 11th, will be the introduction to the 1974-77 off-season. And it'll be the analysis spreadsheets, of which I've started on one here. This is where we organize the draft order. I can get into more of this once we start digging into the topic. But we know Kansas City has the first pick. They're on the clock in March of 2026. And we know right here, White Sox beat the Dodgers in the World Series. So that's a process that we use this Excel spreadsheet to look at data in that regard. That will be Tuesdays beginning on the 11th. The Thursday topic on the 13th of November is actually a video of the cards themselves being analyzed beginning in 1974. So it'll be the 1974 American League East and the 1974 American League North will be evaluated on the 13th. Then on the 15th of November, that'll be the first Fall League game of the week running on Saturdays throughout the fall. So the broadcast schedule beginning in early fall will lighten up to Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then when the Fall League gets into its end of the season, more games we've brought in. Once more information as we get closer to the draft, hot stove league trades, things like that. More broadcasts usually are created in January into February and March. So it's a little leaner in November and December during football season, as I watch a lot of football. But there is a very interesting wrinkle on the Fall League. Upcoming changes to the Fall League. So here we go. This is a pretty deep topic here. I wanted to, the Fall League is often a place where I experiment. I mean, the Summer League is a higher standard of roster assembly, oversight, the role of a commissioner, the broadcasting itself, the gameplay itself, the rules. Fall League is where I sort of play it a little less strict, and I would try different assumptions and experiment. So this is a big project, and we are going to assume that there is a work stoppage like in 1981. So I just wanted to show you some years in baseball history here. In 1969, we had the expansion. It was Kansas City and the Seattle Pilots, the Expos, and the Padres. That's a lot. Think about that in just its own. You go from 20 to 24. So that was a big leap historically for the sport that doesn't get enough attention, I don't think. To add 4 instead of adding 2 teams. And then, of course, that card year is amazing. The 69 set, you've got some amazing. The elite Hall of Famers have some amazing hitting and pitching performances. But this little look is about what happens right around 4 years, it seems, on a 4-year cycle. There's some sort of disruption in the sport. At the end of 1972, or during 72, there was a labor stoppage, and the season was cut short by about 3 to 6 games. And then 73, they instituted the designated hitter to appease, I guess, both sides. And so 73 was a jolt of energy to a sport that was lagging in 72 and 71. All right. 4 more years in the future, they add Seattle and Toronto in 1977. And again, that year, you've got some ridiculous offense because the pitching gets really diluted when you have 26 major league teams now. It's not just Seattle, Toronto. It all trickles down to all the teams as their farm systems get rated for the expansion draft. Then another 4 years or so, it's 1981, and of course the big strike that interrupted the season so significantly that they had to invent on a fly a bizarre first half, second half playoff strategy that most of Major League Baseball hated. This is a case where the 2 best teams in the National League were the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals that year, and neither played in the playoff round. That's how you fell through the cracks in that bizarre format. So, with that in mind, this is my plan for the Fall League. I'm going to play a regular season like I normally do. It's the 81-84 season, Fall League, that you've normally seen. Now, in here, I originally had do not have the playoffs. Then I changed it. Breaking news, I'm going to have a change in my playoff format. Before that playoff happens, the league is going to freeze the 1-loss records. This would be approximately 28 games or so for all the teams in the league, this regular Fall League season, because they play 7 rounds of best of 5. So it could be between 21 and 35 games, or on average 28. That's how many games are usually played by a team who probably doesn't make the playoffs. I'm not going to continue into the 1985 card set. This is one avenue I had in 1985, Strat-O-Matic makes the first group of changes to the Strat cards, introducing ballpark hits, ballpark home runs, clutch hitting ability, things like that added to the card. So this is an idea of not going to that venture and then just kind of sitting here in 81 to 84. So in the off season, as if everything stops, I would do my traditional keep, wave, and retire for the 1981 cards, and they get pulled out. They would get pulled out, so you just have the 1982, 83, 84 cards. And it says here too. This will create the traditional 6 players left from 82, 4 players left from 83, and the 2 players from 84. So each Major League team would have just 12 players on the roster. And we're not going to move to 85 or have a playoff. So here's the thought. We're going to have another draft, but we're going to keep the same years in place. 81, 82, 83, 84. So it's almost like having another of the same drafts, but it's going to be different because the roster compositions are going to be in a different overlap. It's not going to be the same format. The rosters will not have the 8-6-4-2 format corresponding to years 1 through 4. This is sort of the basic tenet, a maxim of the carryover league. You have 8 cards in the first year and 2 fewer in each succeeding year. Well, that would be broken under this. The format will now be a regular draft, means 2 guys from 1981 will be on the roster, and then the 2 guys to the 6 previous of 82, and then 83 and 84. So that means when you start playing a league in the following fall, autumn, that 8-6-4-2 format turns into 2 in year 1, 8 in year 2, 6 in year 3, and 4 in year 4. So this is an opportunity to kind of see how the sport is played a little bit once you lean into a different year with the highest population. The second year will be the highest population. The strike year, in this case, gets diminished a little bit. Okay. Then, same thing. You insert the one-loss records at the beginning of the fall league. Okay. Not the stats, just the one-loss record. So you're going to continue to add wins and losses to franchises. And then repeat the process for the next 2 years. Also with no postseason or an exhibition postseason. This is more about not really caring too much about a World Series and playoffs and all that stuff. This is about just experimenting with different weights of years in a timeline and seeing what kind of results happen. And also just accumulating a large number of wins and losses. So you're getting a bigger sample size, which would lean towards, closer to Major League history, as the teams who actually were great during that time should still be great, you would think, over a 4-year period. So in that next year, you'd be removing the 8 cards from 82 instead of the 8 cards from 81. So that 2864 structure turns into, add 2 to every number, and 8 turns into a 0, of course. So that year's fall league has 4 guys in the first year, and you see the third year is weighted heaviest. This will continue to play. You play another season, you just keep adding wins and losses for franchises while freezing the stats. The stats can be put together at the very end of this project. This is like a 4 or 5 year fall league project. Then remove the 83 cards, and you see it's going to happen again. So this 4-2-8-6 format now is going to lean to 6-4-2-8. You play another season, removing the 884 cards. And then lo and behold, once you do that, check it out. That means once you get to that last installment of 6-4-2-8, pulling the 8 guys out, it puts you back into 8-6-4-2. In theory, it might, practically, it's like getting struck by lightning, I would guess. It could actually be the same rosters that we're going to play with right now in our fall league now. That they could be. I'm not saying it will be. But because it's the same years, 81 to 84, and 8 cards in year 1, etc., it's almost impossible for the rosters to be identical. But still, it gets the rosters back to the original proper league configuration, the maximum of my league, for your carryover league, where year 1 is weighted the most. So we're going to return to that after accumulating data over 3 more autumns and coming up in the next 3-4 years. At that point, now you can stop with the season. You played that season, and now you'll have a great number of wins and losses, probably over 100 games played by each team, well over that. And so at that point, then I can get grand with my playoff tournament, and I just have a TBD because I don't want to make that assertion now. This is very much like 4 years in it's like planning for an Olympics 4 years down the line. So I don't know how that will be, but it'll be a pretty huge tournament with a lot of data collected to contribute to how it is to be played. And here are some notes. Regarding the breaking news about the playoff format, I realized how disappointing it would be to simply stop after week 7. So I came up with this idea of a one-day playoff system of exhibition games that won't count in the standings. Each league will have a division leader in the 4 divisions. So each league plays one game where the 4th record plays one game versus the 3 record. That winner plays the 2. That winner plays the number 1. And then you have an interleague game, and then you could just assume that that team has bragging rights for that abbreviated fall league interruption. You could say this is the players organizing their own little round of baseball during a strike, I suppose. So this will actually be an interesting broadcast. It would be 7 games. The 4th and 3rd place division leaders, I can't really say winner, it's division leaders. And then that plays the 2nd, that plays the 1st, and there's an interleague game. So it's a 7-game playoffs. The stats won't count because I don't want to add more stats while the other teams are staying put. However, recognizing that you have to play for something, the champion, whoever wins the whole thing, and a more important move is they will get a comp pick in the draft, and we'll put it at the end of the 3rd round. Normally I have a commissioner round comp pick at the end of the 1st round for the worst teams, because this team has a great amount of talent. They're the best one. They will get a comp pick at the 3rd round. And basically all that really means is they trade their 8th round pick for the 3rd round pick is all they're doing. They're getting rid of their 8th rounder and moving up to there. Some more notes about this. When we do those eliminating videos that you've seen recently, I'll just have to say revising, because obviously nobody gets eliminated. It's just being paused constantly. It's like autumn stops and picks up in the following autumn, you know. So replace eliminating teams with revising. Here's an interesting note also about the retirees. Well, you can't retire if you never go away, right? If it's these 4 years are constantly being utilized, we'll simply rename the retirement category as reserved free agents. So it'll be keepers, waivers, and reserve free agents. Now, because the reserve free agents are obviously better than a retired player or a declining player of talent, they will cost 1 draft token if it's plucked off of a team in the first 4 rounds of the draft. If a player is taken in rounds 5 through 8, it's considered like a waiver claim and no taken is utilized. So that means that, you know, obviously the 8 players that are being revised are all going to be good and continue playing. So you have to really, you know, it's going to be really good keepers. Probably players who actually play for the match, a direct match of a keep a player who played for you in that major league year. The waivers will probably be, and the waivers and the reserve free agents will be very proximate to each other in overall talent. But the waiver list and the reserve free agent list, there'll be the same amount of players, but there will be a waiver. Anybody takes a player on waivers, reserve free agents, you have to spend if you want to take one of those guys in the first 4 rounds. So that's something to consider when your team decides to put them in each category. But keepers would still be keepers. If you got a guy you want to keep, you obviously, that wouldn't change. And that is it for the rules of the end of the fall league. And obviously, not much will happen until we get into the Super Bowl weekend of next year. Normally, when I play the Fall League Championship, I'll simply be playing this 7-game. Think of it like as a 7-game World Series. I'll be playing 7 games, exactly 7 games, because it'll be 4 versus 3. Then the 2 gets to play, the 1s get to play in each league. That's 3 times 2 is 6, and then the interleague game. So it'll be a 7-game exhibition playing for a draft pick. That'll be a different way of ending the fall league. And honestly, I kind of like that because I really want to keep the richness of the World Series reserved for the summer. based on the amount of drama we have each year in the summer league and the timing of it during baseball season. So in the fall league, I haven't even really wanted to call those World Series, but because of this, it being baseball, I just decided I would just call it the Fall League World Series, not change it too much. So that's it for now. So thank you for tuning in. Next week, draft, and then in 2 weeks' time, we're going to pick up the beginning of the 74-75 Summer League. All that's coming up in the fall and winter. Hope to see you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.